Hey guys, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about the interview that Destiny did with I believe it's the ladies first panel, with Bondi Blue, Nisi, Jamie, and I think the woman's name is Jay. They all did a great job with this interview. They came in objective, they were patient, they were empathetic, they weren't trying to attack Destiny to prove a point, and they asked questions that people wanted to know the answers to. While Destiny was talking about her experiences over the past couple of years, getting divorced, losing her home, losing custody of her child, losing partial custody of her child, the way that LeBerick divorced her and things like that, I was thinking about the episode of Iyanla Vanzant that aired a long time ago, maybe 7-8 years ago. And in this episode, there was a family of 13 people living in one house. And these 13 people were the siblings and the nieces and nephews of the husband or the father who owned the house. The lady of the house, the matriarch who was married to the owner of the house, she wasn't related to these people, but she was in distress. She was very aggravated, angry. She had a drinking problem, and the entire family basically was tired of dealing with her attitude. And the general consensus was that this lady was the source of the problem. The matriarch who was coming to the house, arguing with people, changing the energy and the vibe of the house. She was the problem. And at one point during the episode, Iyanla took everybody outside, not including the matriarch who was causing the problems, right? She took all the family members were outside and they were talking about the issues in the family, and all the fingers were pointing at the man's wife, who was the matriarch of the household. So at one point, Iyanla asked, when did this lady's behavior change? Because she wasn't always like this, right? And I believe her sister-in-law, who is the sister of the man who owns the house, I hope I'm being clear here, her sister-in-law said, after the baby died, her behavior began to change. And Iyanla said, what do you mean? And she said that basically the matriarch had experienced a baby who died from SIDS. And Iyanla said that that's not a baby, that's a child. She lost her child. And so then at that point, Iyanla was disgusted and she was flabbergasted at the fact that nobody in this family could connect the dots between the woman's drinking and her anger, and her contentiousness was as a result of losing her child. So later in the episode, Iyanla meets with the matriarch, or the woman who's causing all these problems, quote unquote, and they have a conversation. And she relays to the lady, Iyanla relays to the woman that the family is blaming her for all the strife in the house. And she's telling her how the family is perceiving her, and they're saying that she drinks too much. Now, all this time, the woman is like, she didn't know that that's how people were seeing her. She didn't know that she drank too much. She didn't know that they had an issue with her behavior, because she was so stuck in her grief that she could not see the way that her behavior was affecting the people around her. And at one point, Iyanla begins to leave, but then she asks the woman for a hug because she thinks that the woman needs, some emotional support. When the lady gives her a hug, she breaks down and weeps because she's so aggrieved and she's holding so much inside that she just needed a little bit of compassion from somebody to see what she was going through, because she was in such a dark place. It was impossible for her to see how she was affecting the people in her environment, how she was affecting the people that was closest to her. So the matriarch in that story reminds me of Melody. I mentioned before that I believe that Melody has PTSD due to the abuse that she suffered when she was married to Martell, and even after their divorce. I stated that Melody is hypervigilant at this time. She's easily triggered. She has no patience for anybody. She is basically paranoid about being betrayed again, because everybody in their circle knew about Martell cheating but her. And Marceau even helped Martell to cheat. So you are doing business with somebody who's helping your husband to cheat on you, right? Melody's been backstabbed by people all over the place. And then Tisha in season 1 complains that Melody is different. She's not hanging out as much. She thinks that Melody has a problem with her. She thinks that Melody is sometimey. She's not a good friend. The problem is, and has been, the fact that the cast does not understand the magnitude of what Melody endured during her marriage to Martell. If they understood what actually happened, they wouldn't be friends with him to this day. They're expecting Melody to show up like the old Melody from 2017, 16, 15, right? They expect her to be who she used to be for them. And so they're not familiar with this new person who's not as patient, who's testy, who's easily irritated, who is not as supportive as she used to be, or empathetic even. They're not used to this new person because they're not aware of what she's experienced, or they don't care enough to understand what she's experienced. Because then, like the family in Iyanla Vanzant, you could connect the dots and say that Melody started acting differently after she found out about Martell's affair. She started acting differently after this happened. What's happening is these people are expecting Melody to show up the same way she did before all this happened. So they're not meeting her where she is now. They expect her to show up the way she used to be because they're not acknowledging everything she's been through. And so this is really interesting because both Destiny and Melody went through difficult situations. They are Scorpion and Taurus, right? Scorpios and Tauruses are going through difficult times. Actually, all fixed signs are going through difficult times because of the Saturn and Uranus transit, which is squaring the sun in these signs, right? When you have a square or a conjunction of a malefic planet, it causes a lot of confusion when it comes to your family dynamics, your career, your relationships, and your sense of identity about who you are. So with this particular aspect, I'm not surprised that Destiny went through so much over the course of the past couple of years. The problem that I'm seeing is that neither Destiny nor Melody have the capacity to see each other clearly because they've been clouded by pain and grief. More so Melody than Destiny. And so Destiny should not be surprised that Melody would not want to be around someone, her, who is still friends with an individual who tried to destroy her life, who tried to psychologically and emotionally destroy her, and even financially. Martell tried to destroy Melody's spirit, and that is a very painful experience to go through. When you're dealing with a narcissist, anybody who has dealt with a real life narcissist, not a selfish person, not an arrogant person, not just an asshole, a person with a personality disorder, diagnosable, right? Which I think Martell has. When you have dealt with a narcissist, you're changed permanently. You're not the same person, right? And so Martell took a piece of Melody's light from her when she left him behind. When she left the businesses, the marital home, the family dynamic, when she left all the things she built, she also had to leave a piece of who she used to be behind with that. That was a sacrifice she made in order to maintain her integrity and her sanity as Martell continued to abuse her and felt justified in doing so. Melody is correct in not wanting to be around somebody who's close to that person. Destiny is also correct in wanting to have a friend or a village because she was friends with Martell before she met Melody. And if they're friends, she needs a support system because she lost her husband too. She lost her businesses in a sense, or she's had trouble with finances. She's having trouble with the custody situation with the baby in a sense. Like, a lot of things happen to her unexpectedly. And that is the reason why Destiny needs a village as well. They both need villages. The problem is Destiny's village is toxic with Martell included in it. And Melody does not have it in her to give a damn enough about Destiny's need to be friends with Martell because Martell is the source of so much pain and abuse for her. It's hard to describe it to people who've never been in that situation where the individual that you used to know has become a monster and you want nothing to do with them. And it's to the point where you don't even want to associate with people who are associating with them. You want to avoid that person altogether because they're doing a lot to try to torment you. And you don't want to be tormented. So it is sad and ironic that Melody and Destiny both went through this difficult experience around the same time. And they couldn't come together because I believe that their grief was so heavy and thick, especially for Melody. She does not see how she is coming off to people. She does not understand, or she may not even care, to be honest, that the way that her energy is right now, it is not very welcoming to her friends and other people. And these people are refusing to see why Melody is like this. And because Melody, in my opinion, is still in a dark place of grief. Yes, she's happier that Martell is not with her. Yes, she's happier that she's divorced and she's free and able to move around. She's happy about the change in circumstances, but the scars are still there. They're still fresh, right? There's still constant reminders of the life they used to have together and the adjustments that they've had to make since the divorce. That's a reminder of what's actually happened on a daily basis. And so even though Melody looks like she's perfectly fine and whole and healthy, the way that she's reacting to people is indicating that there's something deeper going on, just like that woman on Iyanla Vanzant, who had no idea that she was affecting the people in her environment the way that she was. When you are in grief and you're heartbroken and you're depressed in that dark space, for real, you don't see anything around you. You don't have the energy to care about how your behavior is affecting other people, because your mind is so closed off in such a dark place. It's hard to function. And this is why I mentioned several times on this channel and my other channel, I kept trying to figure out how these people could not connect the dots between what Melody was going through and her behavior towards them. When Tisha said Melody's not a good friend, she's sometimey, she's this and that, there was no comprehension or consideration of what Melody was going through in terms of her divorce with Martell. In terms of the marriage itself, it was very contentious and abusive. And this is why I kind of went in on the cast, because it's like, how do you not see this lady is going through this stuff? And you're treating her as if she's supposed to show up the same way. You're expecting her to be the old Melody that she used to be before this all happened. You're not meeting her where she is, right? And where Melody is right now, she's closed off. I think she's really energetically blocked off. And there's a disconnect there. And that's a protection mechanism. It's a defense mechanism. And there's no judgment, because I've been through it before. I know how it looks. I know what it feels like. And sometimes we need to do that to heal. Because every time I turn around, I'm getting betrayed by people. I'm getting betrayed by my friends. My mother-in-law is talking shit about me. The host of the show or the producer of the show is not sympathetic to my feelings. The mistress is coming at me. My ex-husband is coming at me. So I have to protect myself by being extra guarded, and that is making it difficult for me to connect with other people energetically, empathetically, emotionally, psychologically. And unfortunately, Destiny's relationship is a casualty of that situation, because she cannot connect with Destiny and empathize with her the way that she needs to at this time. She doesn't have it in her. And it's not because she's bad or she's mean. She's depleted. She's emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually depleted from what Martell did. And these people on the show do not understand what happened. That's why they're still cool with Martell. That's why they still like him. A part of me feels like the cast refuses to see what Melody has been through because they actually like Martell. And if they understood exactly what happened to Melody, they would have to make a choice to leave him alone, because you can't be a good person if you're willing to treat your wife this way. So they're choosing to be oblivious, in my opinion, because they want to maintain their relationship with Martell. If Melody could demonstrate or paint a picture of the alchemical processes that she had to endure to change fundamentally as a person, to let go of the things that she valued. She built her businesses because she values business. She values money. She values success. She values marriage. She values home and family. She had to let go of that. That process itself changed her, period. Now, I'm not saying she can't heal. She's still healing now, and she's on the road to recovery. But the people around her cannot expect her to show up the way that she used to, because she doesn't have the capacity right now to give a damn about what other people are going through, because she's in her own depression. She's in her own pain and darkness, okay? That's just being fair. The same thing with Destiny. Destiny may have an easier time of it because she didn't go through what Melody went through. Yes, what the LaBerrick did was foul. And as a side note, I'm really curious to know if Martell was in LaBerrick's ear during this situation. I wonder if LaBerrick was inspired or influenced to file for divorce the way he did from Destiny because of what Melody and Martell went through. I wonder if Martell told LeBeric to protect himself. Watch your back. Make sure you don't go through what I went through. Make sure you're not blindsided by Destiny. Make sure you cover your ass. I wonder if that was what LeBeric needed to hear to file for divorce and do it in the way that he did to prevent Destiny from even contesting it or fighting back. He did it real sneaky and sly like. I think that's what Martell may have told LeBeric that Melody did to him. She snuck the divorce on me. I'm just speaking hypothetically. I think that's what happened. I'm not saying it's for sure, but Martell may have felt blindsided by Melody filing for divorce, even though she kept warning him year after year, and he didn't really take her seriously, so he kept doing what he was doing anyway. So when she really filed for divorce and went through with it, he felt blindsided by his own ignorance and basically taking advantage of her. So I wonder if Martell told if Martell told LeBeric to watch your ass, cover your tracks, make sure you do not end up like me, and that was what influenced LeBeric to make the decision to divorce Destiny the way he did so quickly and without giving her any opportunity to fight back. It would be ironic that Destiny is still friends with the man who potentially told her ex-husband to leave her the way that he did. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I wonder if Destiny ever asked Martell, did you tell LeBeric to file for divorce, or did you tell LeBeric to, do things the way that he did to watch out for me because of what happened with you and Melody? I wouldn't be surprised if LeBeric was influenced by that situation, because Martell was asked out after the divorce, and LeBeric doesn't seem to be the type to play with his money or his resources or his time, right? He seems to be very calculated. And when Destiny said to him, I don't think this is going to work, men don't want to hear that. They consider that a threat. And coupled with the fact that Destiny was saying that he was being extra frugal with the resources and money, if you're complaining about money and you're trying to say that, yeah, it ain't gonna work out if this don't happen, then a man is going to see that as a threat. He's going to see you as somebody who's after his money, especially with family in his ear and potentially Martell in his ear too. That's just me speculating. I'm not sure if that's really what happened, but it'll be interesting if Destiny is holding on to a relationship with a man, Martell, who could have potentially encouraged LeBeric to divorce her because of red flags that he thought he was seeing, and he didn't want to go through what Martell and Melody was going through. But anyway, again, I think it is interesting that Melody and Destiny did not take this opportunity to get closer together because they're so mired in their own issues individually. I think Destiny is a bit more sympathetic to Melody because she didn't go through what Melody went through. But at the same time, it's not fair for Destiny to have to justify why I need my village, right? Martell is a toxic idiot. But if he's there as a supportive person to Destiny in her time of need, can we blame her for being close to him in her time of need? When she lost everything, basically. Her business is struggling. She lost her husband. She was about to lose her home, per se. Maybe, I don't know. Should we get mad at her for being friends with somebody who's giving her some sense of stability, some support, some company, something, some conversation, especially now that Melody and her aren't talking? But at the same time, nobody can blame Melody either for not wanting to associate with someone who's friends with the man who tried to destroy her life. That is too close to me. There's not enough degrees of separation when you're dealing with a person who you feel threatened by, right? When I feel threatened by an ex, I make sure that, first of all, I don't block their number because I want to see all their moves and what they're thinking, okay? And when you block somebody, you basically block the lines of communication. So if you need to go to the police and they're like, why do you feel threatened? And you don't have any text messages or receipts to show that this person's stalking you or saying certain things, then you can't do that. I make sure that I'm always aware of where that person is, but I don't want them close to me. So if I'm aware of where you are at all times, I know where not to be. Basically, that's how I think about things. And I think that's the way that Melody is thinking too. As long as you're associated with this man, right? As long as you're with him, I don't want to be around you because his energy is still affecting me. And you're still cool with this person. Now, before I said that, I don't think that Destiny should be chasing Melody for friendship. I don't think Destiny should be chasing anybody for who doesn't want to be friends with them. But it's really sad that they could not come together closer as a result of this divorce. It's interesting that Martell and Maurice are still relatively close. even after this divorce situation, even after Martell kind of threw a grenade into Marcel's marriage with a 20 girlfriends accusation. It's interesting that they're still buddies, but the women can't get it together. The women can't get it together. So for this particular interview, I learned, not really learned because I've been aware of this, but in this situation, I learned that Melody and Destiny could not see each other through the veil of their own trauma, of their own need for support, of their own need for empathy. If two people are going through grief, how can they basically come together and heal each other if both of them are too broken to have enough empathy for the other, to provide support to the other, to trust the other, right? That's an interesting question that we have to think about in our communities, because we have a bunch of people who are broken in our families, right? In friendships, in the Black community in general. We got a bunch of broken people that can't heal each other because we're too broken to see each other's pain. I can't empathize with you because I need empathy and I've never received that. I can't give you a shoulder to cry on because my shoulders are already burdened by the responsibilities of holding on to my grief by myself. Melody was very upset and testy with everybody because she feels like I should not have to walk around with this pain on my face and on my back all day for you to acknowledge what I've been through. I shouldn't have to explain to you every single day, every time I see you, the reason why I'm acting the way that I'm acting, the reason why I need more space. Yes, I might not talk to you as much because I don't feel like it today. That should be okay. If you've done nothing wrong, there's nothing for you to worry about. Sometimes I don't want to talk to you because I'm going through shit right now, for real. Sometimes I have good days. I'm out here hanging out, going to parties and celebrating life. And in my dark moments, it's like, damn, I'm scared. And when you're scared to trust people, that's another level of disconnect and isolation that is difficult to get through. When you're scared to trust people outside your family and you're constantly paranoid, it's an isolating experience, and it feeds into the depression even more. Because now you can't connect with people the way you need to in order to share your feelings and be vulnerable with them, because you feel like they're going to judge you. And most likely they will, because they don't understand things from your perspective. Because if they did, you wouldn't have to explain it in the first place. I said this several months ago. I've watched this show from the beginning, okay? And I'm watching as an audience member. I'm not on the cast. I don't know anybody on this cast. If I can see what's going on with Melody and I can connect the dots. I didn't even know her before the show. I don't know how she was before the show aired. But from what Tisha and Kimmy expected of Melody, I can assume that Melody was a lot more present, more available, more generous with her time, a lot more patient. I can expect and assume that based on the way that they expect her to show up after this affair and this drama came out. So before the show, Melody was one way and now she's another way. What changed in between that? 1 + 1 is always going to be 2. When it's not 2, then there's some deception and delusion going on, and people are refusing to see the facts on the ground because they don't like what the facts will reveal, right? If people understood what Martell did to Melody to change her the way that she did, because Melody is a very strong woman. For her to change like that, what actually happened that you don't know of? What happened to my friend? I'm curious about that. But because they don't have any empathy for her, they're going to complain and expect her to show up and give them the same thing she was given before, when she has been depleted and she's trying to replenish herself with self-love, with a long time, with silence, with not communicating with people. Some people need to withdraw in order to heal. That is fair. I'm happy that Destiny got the opportunity to share her side of the story. I'm happy that the ladies on this panel treated Destiny better than Melody was treated in season 1 and 2 by Tisha and the other women in that. It's interesting that the women on this panel, Bondi and Jamie and Jay and Nisi, these women spoke to Destiny the way that I wish that Tisha and Kimmy, the other women, would have spoke to Melody. What happened? Not judging, not saying it's your fault, okay? Not saying Martell's a good guy anyway. That's offensive to somebody who's been abused. Destiny admits that she's cool with Martell because Martell's good to her, and she doesn't see what he did to Melody because he don't treat her that way. But I can see what Martell did to Melody based on how Melody is behaving now, how she's reacting to people. It's almost like a wounded animal. You know the animal's been wounded because it doesn't want anyone around them. You may not have seen the abuse, but you can see the reaction to the abuse. So based on the animal's reaction, you should be able to deduce that something traumatic and awful must have happened to this person. And be sensitive to it. It's not Destiny's fault that Melody has problems with her, in my opinion. It's not Melody's fault that Destiny has problems with her either. It's just that things fell apart so quickly from season 2 to now. It was weird to see that happen. But like I said, when you're blinded by your own pain, you don't see how you're affecting other people. Just like Martell was too blinded by his own pain of feelings of inadequacy, of feelings of worthlessness and uselessness and frustration. He was blinded by that to the point where he couldn't see how he was hurting his wife, how he was destroying any opportunity for reconciliation. Martell was so wounded by this divorce situation, his ego was so bruised that he couldn't see that he was destroying any opportunity for Melody to want to reconcile with him. He made matters worse. And as a community, we're operating in that blind state. Most of us have been victims of abuse to some extent. So a lot of us have difficulty being empathetic towards other people, because if they ain't see my pain, I ain't got to see theirs. Okay? I'm going to leave it there for now. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.